mixing everything up for the next, hopefully maybe another hour or so here.
Yeah, with another hour, it could be fine. Then, like, everybody is waiting here with a cup of coffee again. Because then in the UK, it's now 7 a.m.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, that's good. So, but how has it been? Because I tried to join when I was in bed on my mobile, but my mobile didn't do the join apps. I don't know what's. I had the same thing. I had to come back maybe tonight to see
With the time, it's absolutely beautiful. Stanley Tucci, searching for Italy. Sundays at 9.
Yeah, no, it's just on the mobile that I was like making it because the streaming is very long. But
Well, we've
yeah.
taken another step closer to a third vaccine in the United States after an FDA panel recommended it for emergency use. We need to take it in with other encouraging trends. Like what? Well, vaccine numbers overall are getting really ramping up by a multi-factor. Okay, so they are ahead of their 100 million doses in 100 days rate. 75% of the 94 million doses so far have been administered. That means, as you see down there, about 7% of the population already fully vaccinated. I know that's not where we need to be, but it's much farther along than we were 2 months ago, if you think about it. Vaccine hesitancy going down. Now at 55% among U.S. adults, up from 34% in December. 34% said, yeah, I want it. Now it's over half. Do we have to do work on that? Yes, especially in the hardest hit communities. And that's a problem we're not really dealing with yet. As you go down the socioeconomic scale, people are more hesitant about the vaccine. They're getting less attention. They're getting less supply. And that's going to be a problem. Know that now. COVID cases, dramatic decline. Hospitalizations, down. Deaths,
Who's
down.
getting less supply?
People, especially vaccine hesitancy going down. Now at 55% among U.S. adults, up from 34% in December. 34% said, yeah, I want it. Now it's over half. Do we have to do work on that? Yes, especially in the hardest hit communities. And that's a problem we're not really dealing with yet. As you go down the socioeconomic scale, people are more hesitant about the vaccine. They're getting less attention. They're getting less supply. And that's going to be a problem. Know that now. COVID cases, dramatic decline. Hospitalizations, down. Deaths, down. Could this be the beginning of the end? Sanjay Gupta joins me now. Good to see you, Doc. Let's start macro, get to micro. Macro, is this a real move towards baseline?
Not necessarily.
Or is it just a temporary low?
You get right to it, Chris. I mean, that is the question. I think that my guess is that the metrics that matter will continue to go down. People are concerned, and I think understandably so, about these variants in terms of overall case numbers potentially going up again. You know, they plateaued, right? They've been going down. They sort of plateaued. I don't think that's because of the variants yet, because when we look at the variants around the country, maybe 10% of the country, has you see these variants. Florida's the highest, 20%. So I don't think that's what it is so far. I think some of it's the surge that came off the holidays and things like that. That's sort of starting to flatten out, and we'll see what happens to these numbers over the next month. But what we're going to look for, and I think we've been saying this all year now, Chris, is the lagging indicators, hospitalizations, and the tragic deaths. What I think is we're not going to see the proportional increase in hospitalizations and deaths, and that's going to be the good news. So even if the cases go up, the hospitalizations don't go up proportionally, that's going to be a really important indicator, Chris.
The J&J single shot, assuming it gets authorization, they say it could happen next week. It could start getting in there. How soon until you see it make an impact on herd immunity?
That might take a while because, somewhat surprisingly, they're going to only have about 3 to 4 million doses that are coming out right away. They say 20 million by the end of next month, end of March. So, that'll make an impact. If you look sort of in the April timeframe, you're talking about 220 million shots between Moderna and Pfizer. That'd be 110 million people. And maybe 20 million more shots from Johnson & Johnson, which would be 20 million people. So that's 130 million. It's still not herd immunity. But the thing is, Chris, I got to tell you, herd immunity is this thing everyone pays attention to. But that's not that important sort of a switch. You're going to see improvements all along. So will Johnson & Johnson make an impact right away? Probably not. But it'll make an impact earlier than sort of mid to end of summer when we will reach herd immunity.
How much does the mask mocking that we're seeing from Ted Cruz and the other geniuses right now on the right, how big of a mitigator effect is that to our progress? If they keep pushing that mask is a nonsense thing, they're just overboard on the left.
Look, it's totally ridiculous. I mean, Chris, the thing is that if you leave aside the vaccines and the monoclonal antibodies and all the things that we're spending tons of money on, billions of dollars, masks alone, especially high filtration masks, in riskier situations when you're around a lot of people, for example, would probably work faster and more completely than even the vaccine would. And there are people who say that it could essentially bring this pandemic to an end in 4 weeks if people wore high filtration masks when they were in public like that.
Ugh.
Look, we've been saying that all along. We are the home run nation, right? We like the touchdowns, the home runs, the knockout punches. That's the vaccine. I get it. But it also means we don't lean into the basics, and the basics are really important. I mean, a lot of countries around the world that are doing so well, they don't have vaccines. They didn't have vaccines when they were doing so well. It was the masks. So the fact that we still mock it is so painful because it could be helpful now, but it also really makes me think we didn't learn one of the most valuable lessons for later.
Let's put up the efficacy, full screen number 3, efficacy 1 month after vaccination. So moderate to severe versus severe only. You see Pfizer's 2 doses from Moderna, 66. Should people be worried about the difference in efficacy 1 month after vaccination with the single shot versus the other 2?
Well, Chris, I mean, when you look at you look at the right side of the screen now, I mean, the idea that 85% protective against severe disease, I think that's critically important, and no hospitalizations or deaths at a month out with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
That's really the key, right? Because so that means that you may
key.
still get sick, but you're not going to get that sick, and you're not going to die. Literally 0.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to minimize moderate illness. I mean, it can be pretty bad for some people. I mean, you my friend, know as well. But the severe illness, the hospitalizations, the deaths, that's the sort of thing. Like my parents both got vaccinated. They're in their late 70s. They're in southern Florida. They were worried for a year. They might get sick. They might have to go to the hospital. They were worried about that because you went on a breathing machine. They knew the odds were going to be against them. They wake up in the morning now not having to worry about that. So regardless of whether it's the Johnson & Johnson or the other 2, I really do think that's the key. So the time frame now, based on Fauci and your same calculations, if things hold, late spring into the summer, you'll start seeing big numbers here of people who have a big degree of protection, and we'll see where that takes us. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, appreciate you. Have a good weekend to the extent that you have a great weekend. You too. All right. So CPAC, why am I talking about it? Because it is the laboratory for the pain to come in this process. They won't even vote on the pandemic bill tonight in the House because they would rather be at the church of Trump. No matter what he does to that party, no matter how he splinters off what used to be the Republican Party, they are pushing his big lie at an annual conservative gathering. Do you remember the party of character counts? A new segment for you tonight to bust open some of the lowlights as Michael Smerconish and I will debate right and wrong. What is working for them, or is it really working? Next.
It's either the assurance of a 165-point certification process, or it isn't. It's either testing an array of advanced safety systems, or it isn't. It's either the peace of mind of a standard unlimited mileage warranty, or it isn't. For those who never settle, it's either Mercedes-Benz certified pre-owned, or it isn't. The Mercedes-Benz certified pre-owned sales event now through March 1st. Shop online or drop by your local dealer today.
I was so moved by Nomadland.
It's a celebration of how wide open our possibilities can be.
I came away filled with a sense of hope.
Nomadland, rated R.
One of
my favorite supplements is quinol turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, quinol's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Quinol is the turmeric brand I trust.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire. Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from a resume database. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/home.
Eva's a great driver, and she deserves car insurance that puts her in control. That's why Root Insurance bases rates primarily on how you drive. Your braking, your turning, how much you drive, or how little. While most insurance companies rely solely on things like your age, education level, and zip code to give you a rate, with Root, your driving is the #1 factor we use to give you a better price. Learn more at joinroot.com.
Question. Is life giving you a few too many lemons? Maybe your glass is feeling a little half empty, or you're just not quite together. Hey, give you and your mind a break and meditate with Headspace. Start feeling better in minutes, with friendly experts to help make it happen, so you can discover a happier, less stressed you anytime, no matter how many lemons you get. Headspace is meditation made simple. Try it now for free.
Come in here because this would be Ian's first official, I think, on my screen. But he's got, well, he has a little one, right? He gets pretty busy.
Yeah, when we have our R&B show, I think I want to have him as a guest. I want to kind of swim in his brain. I can see myself like a little tadpole, want to swim and discover all the nooks and crannies and see what's in Ian's brain, you know? It's fascinating. And he talks so fast and passionate about what he does. I talk fast when I'm passionate, and I know that he's passionate about his profession, you know, because it reminds me of me, yeah, my brain, and your brain, of course, you know, Pablo, always in your brain. I'm like always sliding in your DMs.
Oh, yeah, there you go, Pablo, same thing.
Allergies don't have to be scary. Spraying Flonase daily stops your body from overreacting to allergens all season long. You're good.
Women freed the slaves.
But it's more complicated than that.
This election is an earthquake. In the South, it's a catastrophe.
Lincoln, Sunday night at 10.
If you've recently been diagnosed with advanced ovarian cancer, Zejula may keep you moving forward. Zejula is proven to give you more time without cancer recurring. It's the only once-daily oral maintenance treatment.
Zejula is a prescription medicine for maintenance treatment of adults with advanced ovarian cancer, fallopian tube, or primary peritoneal cancer, used after a complete or partial response to treatment with platinum-based chemotherapy. Zejula may cause serious side effects such as bone marrow problems called NDS, or a type of blood cancer
The
called
tutorial,
which may lead to
like
death.
sneak
Symptoms of
previews,
low blood cell counts may
the
include
tips and
weakness,
tricks,
serious
just
bone marrow
the,
problems.
you know, just the
Contact your
best
doctor for nuance and
Q&A
fever or infection.
with Pablo. Like that, somebody should start that Q&A with Pablo. You know, they already have their show, but then do one with Peter on what he's good at. I don't want to give you guys more work, but I won't do that. But that was just awesome, man, and I'm just happy to have you here. And thank you for putting the marathon together too. This is just
No problem. We're really excited. We thought, hey, what better way to get, you know, more people in the community to meet each other than to just have a nonstop 5-hour broadcast where we invite people from the comments. I think the one thing that we did struggle with was finding a way to make it as inclusive as possible, because there's a lot of like smaller broadcasters that are commenting and saying, it's like, can I come? And why is this just like the in club? And I was like, no. Comment that you want to join and we'll invite you right up and have you join. So definitely something that we really want to do.
yeah. This was a first run, you know. I think the
I can't
platform.
hear you. I know you're talking, but I don't know if anyone has noticed. Yeah, the levels aren't going up and down for you.
Check your...
Anna, what you should do, click the exit button.
Yeah,
right
refresh.
here at the bottom, and then come back, re-enter the broadcast, and that will bring your voice back. Okay.
Thank you, Bobby.
Oh, most welcome. I am a mini Pablo. Because Pablo trained me so well that now, yes, I am fully fledged now, Pablo. Now?
For conservatives, what used to be conservatives at CPAC, 2024 can't come soon enough. They want to start right now. What does that tell you about the level of cooperation you'll see in Congress, even on the pandemic? Well, here's your answer. A dozen of them didn't even show up to vote on the bill tonight. Senators Hawley, Cruz, they're making clear that Trumpism is the future of the party. Lies about rigged elections are the order of the day. It's all over the place. That's why I wanted to bring in my friend and mentor, Michael Smerconish. Let's take a look at what they're doing. Well, it's true. Let's take a look at what they're doing and why it makes sense for them or not. Number one, keep pushing the big lie. Exhibit A.
You know, on January the 6th, I objected during the Electoral College certification. Maybe you heard about it. I stood up and I said, we ought to have a debate about election integrity.
The reason that people stormed the Capitol was because they felt hopeless because of a rigged election. Democrats, not Republicans, installed ballot drop boxes on sidewalks where nobody oversaw them. How many fraudulent ballots got deposited in these boxes unchecked and then got counted? Who knows? Why does this work?
So what's most offensive to me is Josh Hawley. And I have to say this, Chris, because as you know, the expression, all politics are local. He said at CPAC today that he was fighting for the rule of the people. Well, I'm the people. 5 people under my roof as Pennsylvanians voted lawfully by absentee ballot. He wanted to disenfranchise us. What's most galling is that he kept with that plan even after the events of January 6th turned violent. This all now transcends the typical left-right debate over ideology and issues. We're talking about the rule of law being threatened and the ability to conduct elections lawfully in the future going forward. I mean, I worry about 2022. I'm sure you do. I worry about 2024 because they're just refusing to accept the result of an election despite the whole record.
That's the play, though. The play is chaos. And they feel the same way about the rule of law that you do. They're saying that you're the problem because you rigged it, all 5 of you in that Smerconish household. You cheated. You cheated because you don't believe in the party anymore, so you wanted to kill Trump. And it is us or them existential, trial by combat. And that's what they're teeing up, which is why he gave the power fist to a bunch of people who would then become part of the insurrection. That's your party.
Right. So what court judgment, what adjudication of the...
They never gave it a chance.
So that there
no evidentiary hearing. They never gave us a chance. You shut it down. You rigged it.
You know that that's all. I know you're too smart for this, and I appreciate the role that you're playing. But the Middle District of Pennsylvania heard their evidence. That was the court where Rudy Giuliani had to face the judge and say, no, we're not asserting fraud. That which they were saying under the glare of lights was totally different from what they were saying in courtrooms. And that's what the record shows.
And so many real Republicans, so many real conservatives. I had Matt Schlapp on earlier in the week. Left killed me. Killed me. And I say, bring it on. Because conservatives and Smerconishes said, you know what? I just want you to know, that guy's not speaking for me. I just want you to know that. That guy, I don't know why he's in charge of CPAC. I don't know what's happening over there, but that's not me. I'm telling you, and that makes it worth it because those are the only minds that you can hope to change and bring back to reason. Okay, proof number 2, Exhibit B of, no, this is all about chaos and that you guys, everything you say is crazy sauce. Ted Cruz, one of the smartest guys in the Senate, says this about masks.
Now, I want to understand how this virus works. So when you walk in, you got to put your mask on. Sadly, I've got 2. You walk in, you got to put your mask on. You sit down, you take your mask off. See, apparently the virus is actually connected to elevation. Now, remember, this is all about science. It's actually, it may not be elevation. I think it's that there are hormones that are released in your thighs when you're sitting. So you can sit at the table and there's no virus being transmitted.
You're an idiot, Ted Cruz.
You stand up, put the mask on.
In truth, he's better as a comedian than as a politician. To be honest, his face alone is funny. And he said, you know, you have to wear 4 masks. For him, that is true because it's one for every face he's shown to the public. You know, he's a constitutionalist. Now he's a renegade, chaotic person. But they're lying to you. You never needed a mask. And the proof is it makes no sense how they have you use it. Effect.
So here's the reason this one's appalling. It's appalling because that mask that he's being asked to wear isn't for him. It's for you, and it's for me, and it's for everyone with whom he comes in contact. That mask is so that he doesn't infect us. He's arguing today at CPAC for his right to infect you and me. And I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Tea Party at the time of the Affordable Care Act having been proposed when the Gadsden flags were all raised. Don't tread on me, people thumping on their chests about individual freedom and liberty. What were they fighting for? They were fighting for their right not to be insured so that they could then show up in an ER without insurance and burden you and burden me because we're responsible and we have insurance. It's completely illogical and it's actually at odds with the individual freedom that they maintain they're arguing for.
It is fundamental, though, to a disinformation campaign. Up is down.
Right.
And everything is, Orwell fell short, as it turns out, on what doublespeak was. They've always been lying to you. Everything they say is a lie. And if you don't agree with me, now here's the last one. I want to skip and go to point 4. And this is the capper on it that shows you what that party is now going to be. Not only is the left crazy, but anybody who is not down with Trump and the perversity that's coming out of my face right now is the enemy, even if they say they're a Republican. Listen.
And the media desperately wants to see a Republican Civil War. John Boehner made some news. He suggested that I do something that was anatomically impossible. To which my response was, who's John Boehner?
Speaking of bombing the Middle East, have you seen Liz Cheney's poll numbers?
What's true in Florida is true for conservatives across the nation. We cannot, we will not go back to the days of the failed Republican establishment of yesteryear.
So we're making up the Civil War, and then they attack other Republicans, in succession. This is where they are. I really believe the question has been answered about where the party is going, and you just saw it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Brace yourself. I think I'm with Cruz on this one. I mean, to the extent that he is saying there is not a civil war within the Republican Party, I think the Civil War is over. I think there's already been surrender. Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and even Mitch McConnell, they just don't have the juice. The enthusiasm for the base is all playing itself out in Orlando, and that's the concentration that then will drive primary voters. So to the extent he's saying we're trying to gin up a civil war, he might be right.
Except that wasn't his point. His point was that there is no division. Your point is there's division. It's just ended. It's over. You now basically have a 3-party system. We'll see what kind of legs real Republicans can get underneath them. Michael Smirkanish, as always, we benefit from your insight. I wish you a good weekend, brother. I'll see you on TV.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Tonight, questions following the U.S. airstrikes in Syria. This is the first known military action taken by President Biden. There was no congressional approval. Is that okay? This is not a matter of how you feel. It's a matter of law. Now, I think it is wrong for presidents to take power from Congress, even if Congress is willing to throw it to them because they don't want to own any hard votes. We have a former member of Congress who's also a former defense secretary to talk to us about what this meant, what we saw in the Trump administration, and what the right way is. Next.
To support local restaurants, we've been to every city, including Little Rock, and even Worcester.
And
tonight, I'll be eating the
chicken quesadilla from Tony's Tex-Mex.
in
Katie.
Do you think they bought it?
Oh, yeah.
The energy's here. I need you to be ready.
Coming off of that bike, we're gonna work that core.
Find that balance.
Look how great this is. Let's get working. This is what it's about. Push through. Come on.
Florida Track, the home of interactive personal training.
Hey, latte.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
Oh, it's hacked.
Are you serious? So I gave your birth date for free parking.
That's how I got this rope.
No one really tries to be unsafe.
Mom, what's your 401k number?
But every time you give up info and privacy, you give up a little safety too.
Is it normal to ask for your social when you buy stocks?
Norton 360 with LifeLock helps protect your devices, online privacy, and identity all in one. Opt into cyber safety at norton.com.
I'm trying to remember what his name is, but he is on the job right now.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Daniel, FMTV.
Yes, Daniel's
Welcome. He's on the job in New York City. He's a punch scanner.
breaking news.
What could you hear my response?
Breaking news from New York City, huh?
You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks.
Well, hopefully you heard my response anyways.
So you should use it. Can you mute it? Mute you, Daniel, just for now.
Check your email.
Hello, people.
Hi.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. You're on the job. You're on the job.
What an entrance. Welcome.
Situation going, so we're gonna go ahead and check it out.
All right.
Be safe. Yes.
Thank you guys for having me on here. We got a preferred person milk jar. I know you don't want to hear that at the time. It's basically what I do here. You know?
Wow.
We need more people like you, Daniel, because the stuff we see on the regular news networks isn't cutting it. It's a bunch of opinion editorial stuff. What you're doing, when you go live, it's going down. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that. It's a little bit hard work sometimes. We got a little misgrade going on here.
Yeah.
So it's a little difficult to drive people on the road. And at 2:30 in the morning here in New York City, you shouldn't really have that many people on the road. But with a city with 8 million people, you figure, you know, somebody's got to work, right?
Right. Is that your typical shift? Is nights? I mean, I don't want to assume that, but
Definitely just nighttime. Enjoy the sports, you're not out.
Wires Custom
reminds
Insurance
me of the
from
movie
PNC, the
Nightcrawler.
best for your business. Let's count the ways. Our cyber solutions coverage helps companies
It
react
does
to
work,
and
right?
recover from a
Right.
breach. Loss control resources.
Is that your typical shift?
Nights, programs cover everything from bootmakers to
You hear the delay?
and traditional
Definitely just nighttime.
what's on
Enjoy
site.
the sports, you're not out.
Reminds me of the movie Nightcrawler.
Businesses. PNC is the insurance provider coverage companies
It does work, right?
And it's a great time to treat yourself and your home. One low price.
You hear the delay?
Definitely just nighttime.
Gather the whole family around this beautiful marble dining room with 6 chairs, only $22 a month.
And relax in this bedroom sanctuary, only $31 a month.
Or get all 3 rooms for only $70 a month.
You don't have to sacrifice style for value during the President's Day sale at More Furniture.
Stanley Tucci, searching for Italy. Sundays at 9.
Let's
on
check out the
CNN.
unofficial green room. Did they let anyone else come in? No.
And I am.
How does the
Go ahead, Bob.
United States of America
No.
decide whether or not to use military action? Well, by what we've seen in recent years, the president decides, does it, and if it's going to be a really long time, at some point he thinks about talking to Congress, and they usually will kind of give him a nod without actually debating or having a vote. Is that the right way? Nothing's for free. Even if it was drones, even if there were people in the region, we have people there. There's civilians, there are contractors, there are people there. And what if these kinds of actions lead to more military engagement? Men and women who have courage that I don't, putting their lives at risk for the rest of us. Now, technically, for the first 160 plus years, we followed the straight Constitution. The president's prepared to make war, then make the case to Congress, and your representatives vote on whether or not to do it. Then came Korea and the Cold War. Takes us to 1973. For the rest of us. Now, technically, these kinds of actions.
All right, let's try something.
$5, sponsor somebody. Go sponsor somebody. I did this week. I reinvest some of my awards back into the coin system, and that's what I did tonight. And then also the thing that I like to do is just bounce into somebody's room and hit them with a shower of awards and just bounce right back out. And they're like, it's kind of like a hit and run, because that'll start a little cascade effect, and that's kind of fun to do. And then the other thing I like to do is give somebody a subscription. I mean, get a sponsor somebody that you really like, but you might think maybe doesn't have a lot of sponsors. And I went in and I sponsored 3 people, and 2 of them had never had a sponsor before. And I will be honest, if you dig through my videos, you will find one of them that is very open about just how great it made them feel, to have a sponsorship. So this is about love. This is about sharing. If you can produce something here that people love, they'll reward you, and you can share it. You can pay that forward. So I will stop with my half sales pitch, but this platform is destined to succeed. And Mark Goldman came into one of my rooms today, and he turned the tables and he interviewed me, and it was so fun. One of the things that, I said to Mark is that,
how do you say that? The guard comes and he sees them, he will take them off. So they will be taken off.
All right.
But I think because everybody was so excited that they absolutely were like, let them go. Because what you guys shouldn't forget here in Paris, we have a curfew of 6 p.m. That means at 6 o'clock, all food, groceries, that's it. So the moments to me, but it was dark. So this curfew is pretty hardcore. So that's why people are very, very happy when they can go over the grass and, be a little bit of a rascal.
Yeah. But that was like, that just, I saw that and you're like, that is not proper etiquette. That's disrespectful. Like, go get him, child. Go get him for me, Like, we Florida type, somebody just like gang tackle them,
I always like to.
So if you send them a gift and they don't even acknowledge it, that's not good.
Everybody excited as well. I do it with ducks. I do it with anything. Anything that I see is like, you can't do that. You have to do that. I have an empty nest syndrome, so I have to respond on like all these things that happen around me.
Lead to more military engagement. Men and women who have courage that I don't, putting their lives at risk for the rest of us. Now, technically, for the first 160 plus years, we followed the straight constitution. The president's prepared to make war, then make the case to Congress, and your representatives vote on whether or not to do it. Then came Korea and the Cold War. Takes us to 1973. Congress didn't like exactly what's happening now, by the way. Tried to take its power back. Passed a law called the WPA, the War Powers Act, narrowed the president's ability to act. The president can do it if there is an imminent threat on U.S. people or interests. And that interest, boy, did that get loosely interpreted. Only one president, Gerald Ford, has ever bothered to even file the necessary report that you're supposed to engage the War Powers Act as president. So last night's so-called proportional response may have been the right thing to do because they were killing people that we care about. But was it imminent? Was it on our people? How was it in our interest? The contractors? Okay, maybe. Shouldn't have somebody made the case? Was it like that when Trump took out Soleimani? Was that imminent? It isn't now either, is it? The problem isn't that Biden or Trump or even Obama or Bush or Clinton, they all did it this way. They had power that used to and is supposed to reside with Congress. You see, we're still operating under a pair of authorizations for the use of military force, AUMF, from 2001 and 2002. They're almost 2 decades old, and they justify fighting terror. But we've had 41 military operations in 19 countries. Is it really all about terrorism that stemmed from 9/11? The threat that we attacked last night, Iranian-backed militias in Syria who bombed in Baghdad. Those people didn't even exist when AUMF was written.
Throughout all of that, because I think this is a great platform for her.
Sorry,
And,
wait.
So Edward pops in and he starts telling us about, how much he believes in all of this, and he
Rev,
yeah.
they want us there. 20
Oh, they
minutes
do.
warning, and I said, shall we come now? Yes, Pablo said.
Okay,
So it's our turn.
right. So Anna and Eleanor, and go.
Exit. Click.
In 19 countries. Is it really all about
Glass
terrorism
tomorrow.
that stemmed from 9/11? The threat that we attacked last night, Iranian-backed militias in Syria who bombed in Baghdad. Those people didn't even exist when AUMF was written. Now, I could point out that Biden seemed to understand this before he was in the Oval Office, just like we did with Trump's tweets, right? Take a look. The reality is, whomever is in the office, and whatever letter is by their name, R or B, they're going to use the power they have unless Congress gets in their way. And Congress doesn't do that because they don't want to own a vote ever since they took the one to go to Iraq on bad intel about yellow cake, and they got hurt. And they don't want to do that anymore. Let's discuss with someone who understands the issue much better and understands the considerations much better. Senator, Secretary of Defense under Clinton, Secretary William Cohen. Good to have you back, sir.
Good to be with you.
Now, to give myself a chance in a debate that I am not on even footing, I just want to play what Congressman Schiff, Chairman Schiff of the Intel Committee, said about Biden interfacing with the Gang of Eight before they did this and his feeling about it. Here, sir.
Technically, yes, we were given advance notification, but it was done in such a manner that it wasn't meaningful notification. And so we have gone back to the administration and we're going to try to make sure that where it's necessary in the future that we get more effective notice in advance.
Okay. Why is it okay?
Well, I think he's right, that they need a bit more advance notice. And the purpose of the notice is so that people, a limited group of people, the big eight, so to speak, can have an opportunity to talk to the commander-in-chief to give perhaps a different perspective on whether or not a military force should be used under those circumstances. The commander-in-chief feels that if he has to act at an appropriate time, that he cannot share all of the details with the big eight, and I understand that. I've been on both sides of the issue. But I want to go back because there was a vote taken back during the first war in the Gulf, and that's when President Bush 41 was about to send 500,000 troops into the Gulf. And President Bush at that point felt that he only needed UN authorization. And I know that I made the case on the floor and with him personally that no, he had to come to the United States Congress to get authority to do that because we didn't swear allegiance to the UN, but to the United States Constitution. And he did. He was afraid initially he wouldn't get the votes. And so he was going to go around it until he had to face up to the responsibility, say, no, you're making a big commitment here, and you have to have us with you now on this takeoff. Because if this goes wrong, it's all on you without us, and we're coming after you. So he made the right decision, and we made the right decision to go after Saddam Hussein to drive him out of Kuwait. So that was one case in which Congress said, yes, we want to be on board here. We're willing to take the responsibility that comes with it. Since that time, though, Congress has very little influence over the executive. When I was a congressman or a senator, we could cut off funds, not likely. We could try to restrict what the president could do when circumstances call for imminent action. So basically, Congress has given up that authority over the years. And as a member of the cabinet, I was quite, not happy about it, but I understood that I was really the commander-in-chief. I wanted more flexibility to take action. But I also understood, I spent 24 years on the Hill, and I understood why it's really important that you have members who are also elected to a co-equal branch who are going to be supporting the men and women who are going off to fight. They have to be part of it. So I think Adam Schiff is right. You need more notice than they got, and I hope that President Biden will do that in the future. But I think it,
You understand the policy and law better than I, but it's not a notice provision. That is a workaround. Him going to the Gang of Eight is not in the War Powers Act. It's not in the AUMF. It's just an accommodation. I'm going to give you a heads up that this is what I'm going to do and this is why I'm going to do it. The mechanism is, if it's not imminent to our interest or our people, you have to come to us and let us debate it and say whether or not we're supposed to do it. That's the way it's supposed to work. And we've had an extra legislative change here, where you've just given, the Congress just given them the power to do it. My fear is it's never for free, Secretary. So there's going to be escalation. Things are going to happen. Eventually, there are going to be men and women in the way of lead that's flying around. And don't you think that they should have to stand up and be counted in Congress if people's lives are going to be on the line?
I do, but you come back to the issue of imminent. What is imminent? When are our forces, our interests in danger?
Congress, Secretary. So there's going to be escalation. Things are going to happen. Eventually, there are going to be men and women in the way of lead that's flying around. And don't you think that they should have to stand up and be counted in Congress if people's lives are going to be on the line?
I do, but you come back to the issue of imminent. What is imminent? When are our forces, our interests in danger? If the Iranian militia attacking the Green Zone, attacking some of our contractors or military personnel, you want to then go back to the Congress and say, by the way, I'm thinking of kind of responding here to make sure they don't continue to do this for the next 10 days. Do you want to have that as part of a debate in Congress? Or rather, would you put that in the hands of Congress saying the Big Eight, we think you are using versus our interests in danger? If the Iranian militia attacking the Green Zone, attacking some of our contractors or military personnel, you want to then go back to the Congress and say, by the way, I'm thinking of kind of responding here to make sure they don't continue to do this for the next 10 days. Do you want to have that as part of a debate in Congress? Or rather, would you put that in the hands of Congress saying, the Big Eight, we think you represent your parties and your interests, the Green Zone? But you come back to the issue of imminent. What is imminent? When are our forces, our interests in danger? If the Iranian militia attacking the Green Zone, attacking some of our contractors or military personnel, you want to then go back to the Congress and say, by the way, I'm thinking of kind of responding here to make sure they don't continue to do this for the next 10 days. Do you want to have that as part of a debate in Congress? Or rather, would you put that in the hands of Congress saying, the Big Eight, knows the right target because he spent most of his life as Terry Austin knows the right target because he spent most of his life as Central Command or in Central right now. We want to do this for the next 10 days. Do you want to have that as part of a debate in Congress? Of imminent. What is imminent? When are our forces, our interests in danger? If the Iranian militia attacking the Green Zone, attacking some of our contractors or military personnel, you want to then go back to the Congress and say, by the way, I'm thinking of kind of responding here to make sure they don't continue to do this for the next 10 days. Do you want to have that as part of a debate in Congress? Or rather, would you put that in the hands of Congress saying, the Big Eight, we think you represent your parties and your interests. We want you to know we're about to do this. If you have real problems on this, speak up. If you don't, we're going to go do it because we have to protect our people and our interests in that region right now. Now, Adam Schiff said he doesn't have enough information about it. He doesn't know whether it was imminent or not. He doesn't know if it's the right target. Now, I happen to believe that Secretary Austin knows the right target because he spent most of his life at Central Command or in Central Command and knows exactly what's going on and where the interests are that the Iranians are using to make sure they don't target our people, our personnel in the region. So we have more information to get. We need to know more with more specificity about how imminent it was, whether better notice or more notice given to the Congress, but it should be.
I hear you. Otherwise, they got to change the law instead of just giving up their power. They either do their job or don't.
What's going on and where the interests are that the Iranians are using to make sure they don't target our people, our personnel in the region. So we have more information to get. We need to know more with more specificity about how imminent it was, whether better notice or more notice given to the Congress, but it should be.
I hear you. Otherwise, they got to change the law instead of just giving up their power. They either do their job or don't do their job or change their job. Secretary William Cohen, thank you so much for your perspective on a Friday night. Appreciate you. Be well.
Thanks, Chris.
We'll be right back. Something you want to hear right after this.
Police cameras. I pretty much call her interrogation room confessions.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just looking across at the minute, we're very, very raw where we are now. I'm a little bit over we've got a 5 kilometre limit here in Ireland at the moment, so this is around about 7 or 8 kilometres away from where I actually live. I live basically just over the backs this way here. But yeah, so that's where we're going to head up to today. We're going to head up to the top of Mount Leinster. I've got the drone and everything with me, but I don't know whether it's going to be too windy up there. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm a bit like Grant. I like to use the drone when we're out. Hi, Mal. How you doing? And then we'll look over this side. This is another place I usually hike as well. It's up by the wind turbine right in front of us here as well. It's a beautiful sky out today. And I've got my little sidekick as well. He's down by my side as well. He's got his jacket on all ready to go.
Adorable.
So there he is. So guys, I'm going to I will say hello to everybody. Hi guys. I don't have my balaclava or anything on yet this morning, but thanks a million for the invite. I really appreciate it. And I'll leave you back with that beautiful view looking across there. Anyway, I'm not one for being on cameras. I am starting to get a bit more confident in showing myself, but usually I'm out and about just basically showing you these wonderful views anyway.
And we never charge you for high quality.
Totally.
Thank you, Wolf. Nice to see that. So, guys, I'm gonna.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah. So I'm gonna continue my day. Thank you so much for having me here on the marathon. Good luck. Well, I think Pablo, Peter, have a good sleep. Thank you so much, and I'm happy.
Maybe you should.
Nice meeting you. I'm happy.
Nice to meet you on Revolution. Just tell me that I've never been to Paris, but it's a place I want to go. And just tell me that even through all of this chaos of the last year, that Paris is still a beautiful place.
Paris is a wonderful place. It is amazing. It's not changed. All these buildings have been there for already over 150 years, sometimes longer. So nothing has changed. We just miss the tourists. So guys, please come to Paris. And let's do some meetups in Paris.
Oh yeah, sounds fun.
So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Chantal.
Have a wonderful day or a good night. Bye. I don't even remember how. Oh, exit. That's it.
It's funny because so many of us are usually in control, right? So we're just going to end the program and we all have to look. Where's that button?
Yeah. Right. I think we have Pete from Florida here. Looks like you're still. You were right side then, and now I think you're sideways hopping in here, Pete.
Hi, Michelle.
To start your free
Oh,
30-day
there
trial,
we go.
Hi, Asha.
There we go. We got you, Pete. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us, Pete.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Pete, it's good to see you.
Good to see everyone.
So we came to TrueCar.
You guys are doing it late too. It's 3 a.m. here, so.
Oh my God.
The late.
Well, you get the prize for the night owl. Someone give a night owl. P and I are in the same time zone. Oh man, you guys are. I'm a night owl myself. You guys are hardcore. I think the whole top row. I don't. You think you're. Yeah. You guys. Man, impressive.
Walks in Ireland, so he's ahead of us.
Yeah. He's clearly.
You guys did a great mount. You really did.
So much. Yeah. Well, it was made possible by everyone that joined us and shared all of their wonderful stories and what they broadcast here. Absolutely, yeah. And folks are still coming in. I mean, it's still going. This is amazing. Almost 5 hours now.
So is this going to be like a quarterly thing, a monthly?
It's as good a start on the next election as possible. We'll remember his legacy. It's not just a pandemic that dragged on because of his investment in our denial of the reality, but it's January 6th. And no matter what they don't say, no matter how much they ignore, no matter how they try to blame it on somebody else, all their cries about being about police and caring about law and order are BS after that day, and their silence thereafter. There were killers in that crowd that attacked our Capitol. We have breaking news in the race to solve who is responsible for Officer Brian Sicknick's death. We cannot lose sight of the human price that was paid on that day. Sources tell CNN the FBI has identified a suspect who may have been captured on video attacking several officers with bear spray. As we've reported, the working theory is that Sicknick was among those exposed to it in a big amount, and he had a deadly reaction. The New York Times reports that there is also evidence the person talked about using the chemical to attack others ahead of time. We will stay on this, part of our coverage, of course.
This is CNN breaking news.
What?
That there is also evidence the person talked about using the chemical to attack others ahead of time. We will stay on this, part of our coverage, of course.
This is CNN breaking news. And welcome to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. I'm Michael Holmes, and this is CNN Newsroom. We do begin with the breaking news out of Washington. After weeks of political wrangling, the U.S. House of Representatives has just passed President Biden's sweeping coronavirus stimulus bill. Lawmakers voted in near party line fashion to pass the nearly $2 trillion pandemic aid package. It's a major step for President Biden as he tries to push his first legislative priority across the finish line. CNN's Brian Nobles with the latest from Capitol Hill.
It took into the early morning hours of Saturday, but Democrats have finally passed that $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, a key priority for President Biden in the early days of his administration. This is just the first step in the legislative process. It still needs to be passed by the Senate. They will likely change the bill before it goes back to the House for final passage. This version of the bill that was passed on Saturday does include that increase to $15 an hour of the federal minimum wage. Now, when it makes its way back to the Senate, that will likely be stripped out because of a ruling by the Senate parliamentarian saying that it cannot be passed under reconciliation, which would mean with only 51 votes in the Senate, which is how this legislation is making its way through Congress. Now, aside from the minimum wage, there's still a lot of other important things that Biden and Democrats on Capitol Hill really wanted to be a part of this package. That includes an extension of unemployment benefits, which are scheduled to sunset in the middle of March. Also, an expansion of the child tax credit. And then there's those direct payments to Americans, $1,400 a person for most Americans under a certain income level, getting the full amount of aid to folks to that $2,000 mark, which was a big key debate that happened at the end of 2020. Now, this is a big priority, of course, for Democrats and for President Biden, but it's something Republicans are still pushing back in a big way. Republicans very roundly against this in the House of Representatives, most voting against the bill on Saturday, and it's expected that it will be the same when it makes its way to the Senate as well. But there are more Democrats than Republicans on Capitol Hill right now. They don't need Republicans to pass this legislation, and that looks as to be the path that this bill will take as it makes its way through the House and Senate. The leaders up here on Capitol Hill hoping that they have this bill on President Biden's desk by March 14th. Ryan Nobles, CNN on Capitol Hill.
And Ron Brownstein is CNN senior political analyst and a senior editor for The Atlantic. He's joining you now from Los Angeles. Thanks for staying up, Ron. I mean, okay, it passed. It's a first step, but it's not how to look at the end after the Senate is done with it on a couple of key things. How do you see it playing out?
Well, I think, in the Senate, they have the fundamental problem of trying to squeeze this through the so-called reconciliation process that allows them to pass it with a simple majority vote. And to do that, it gets squeezed down through the rules that govern reconciliation. It's just a reminder, Michael, that sooner or later they're going to have to confront the underlying issue of the persistence of the filibuster, which leaves them needing 60 votes for almost everything major they want to do.
Yeah, and further to that point, I mean, you've had Republicans slamming this. I mean, a return of the swamp, I think it was called. But polling has showed massive public support for this bill. What are the political risks for Republicans to say no for the sake of it or for political reasons?
Well, first, I think that is a really important lesson for the Biden White House and for Democrats out of tonight. You have a bill that is about as popular as it can be in a polarized, divided America. Over 60%, some polls 70% of the country saying they supported it, and yet not a single House Republican voted for this. I think that is kind of a foreshadowing of what Biden can expect in terms of Republican resistance to almost everything he wants to do. Look, it's an open question. If the economy recovers and the virus is under control, this could be a vote that looks bad for Republicans in 2022. But in many ways, these House Republicans are almost all inhabiting districts that voted for Donald Trump. They are kind of representing Trump country. And in that sense, there are very few of them that probably have much to fear from this vote.
The progressives, of course, it's likely that, well, it's certain that the minimum wage will be stripped out, a minimum wage increase will be stripped out of the bill by the time it goes through the Senate. How much of a setback is that for the progressive wing? Of course,
districts that voted for Donald Trump, they are kind of representing Trump country. And in that sense, there are very few of them that probably have much to fear from this vote.
The progressives, of course, it's likely that, well, it's certain that the minimum wage will be stripped out, a minimum wage increase will be stripped out of the bill by the time it goes through the Senate. How much of a setback is that for the progressive wing? This is something they are fiercely in favor of.
Well, look, again, it was kind of implausible always to argue that under the arcane rules that govern the so-called reconciliation process, that you could raise the minimum wage through that process. Are we really looking at, Michael, kind of jerry-rigged attempts to get around the fundamental issue? And the fundamental issue is that the filibuster in the Senate means that you need 60 votes to pass almost anything, and there is almost nothing that Democrats care about that 10 Republicans are going to be willing to vote for. We saw the House, in addition to the minimum wage, it's going to be stripped out in the Senate. We saw the House already passed the Equality Act, basically equal rights for the LGBTQ community in the workplace and housing. Next week, the House is going to pass what is arguably the single most important thing they're going to do other than COVID, a sweeping democracy reform bill. That's going to go to the Senate and face the filibuster. Police reform is going to face the filibuster. A new Voting Rights Act is going to face the filibuster. Sooner or later, Biden and the Senate Democrats are going to get past everything they can do for reconciliation and have to confront head on whether they are willing to let Mitch McConnell block the majority of their remaining agenda through the filibuster, or whether they're going to try to end the filibuster.
You just outlined, crucial things for the Democrat agenda there, and you're right, they're not going to go anywhere with Republicans taking up 50% of the Senate and not wanting to give any ground. Mitch McConnell, his sole aim is to regain power in 2022. That's all he wants to do. For people who don't know, how difficult is it for Democrats to get rid of the filibuster and go to a majority vote?
Right. So the irony of the filibuster is the filibuster basically requires you to get 60 votes to do anything in the Senate, except for that which can be shoehorned into this reconciliation process. But you can change the filibuster with 50 plus 1 votes. If every Democrat votes to end the filibuster, or even just to exclude more kinds of legislation from it, the way they have been carving out serial exemptions one by one for lower judicial appointments, then executive branch appointments, and Supreme Court appointments, they can do it. with 51 votes. And I do think that, right now we're going to be focusing on this reconciliation process for COVID relief. Probably for the next few weeks, even months, we may be focusing on the reconciliation process for the next stage of Biden's economic plan. He can do this once more on things that have a budget impact. But by some point this fall, they are going to be standing there kind of naked. What Winston Churchill said, you see what everybody's wearing when the tide goes back out. They are going to be in that position where there could be half a dozen major priorities of the Democratic coalition: democracy reform, voting rights, police reform, LGBTQ equality, gun control, all piling up on Chuck Schumer's desk, all being filibustered by a Republican coalition that, by the way, now represents 44% of the country. If you assign half of each state's population to each senator. So you have kind of a double whammy of minority rule here. And I think it's going to be very difficult for Democrats to get all the way to 2022 without addressing the filibuster. The problem they have is that two of their members, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, at the moment are saying they will not change it. I don't know if that can stand up to the actual realities of these fights one by one, where Democrats are being stymied by a minority.
We didn't even get to voter suppression on the state level and gold statues of Donald Trump at CPAC, but we'll have to save that for another day. Ron, good to see you. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, the US is taking another big step to tackle the root of the coronavirus problem. A third coronavirus vaccine might get the green light in just a few hours from now. Advisors to the US Food and Drug Administration are endorsing Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, and they did so unanimously. The big deal here is that this vaccine only needs one dose. The two major vaccines the US is using right now, of course, need two, and planning around that isn't always easy. Now the FDA needs to clear it officially, and then the CDC needs to give it the final go-ahead. But some health experts worry that some Americans might not want to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and that's because it is showing 66% efficacy against moderate and more serious cases. But that's from a global analysis, and the numbers out of the US are a lot higher, as CNN medical analyst Dr. Jorge Rodriguez told me earlier.
First of all, it's a very good vaccine. We've gotten spoiled by the numbers that were thrown out by Pfizer and Moderna in the 90s. That's spectacular. Had that not been something for us to compare to, we would have said, wow, this is a great vaccine. It's got 72% efficacy here in the United States, 85% reduction of very serious COVID illness, and 100% really reduction in deaths. But what makes it great is that it is one injection. It does not have to be kept in sub-zero temperatures. It is probably more affordable, and it is something that can probably be distributed to many areas of the world with just one shot. So it could be a global game changer for sure.
Absolutely. Quite another arrow in the quiver. I mean, vaccines, of course, prevent illness, but what do we know about whether they prevent infection? It was interesting that J&J has been shown to be fairly effective in that regard. And it's interesting, too, we should know that it was trialed against comparatively more serious versions of the virus as well.
Which is why you can't compare one to another, because they use different populations to find the results at different times of the year. And yes, the J&J virus had more people in South Africa that were tested that had that variant, I should say. And it has shown to decrease the spread.
Now, the US finally releases a report on the killing of a dissident Saudi journalist and pointed the finger at the highest levels of the
to decrease different populations to find the results at different times of the year. And yes, the J&J virus had more people in South Africa that were tested that had that
versions of the virus as well.
Which is why you can't compare one to another, because they use different populations to find the results at different times of the year. And yes, the J&J virus had more people in South Africa that were tested that had that variant, I should say. And it has shown to decrease the spread.
Now, the US finally releases a report on the killing of a dissident Saudi journalist and pointed the finger at the highest levels of the Saudi kingdom. We'll have details on that and reaction when we come back.
before you go live, you just spray it. And that is mattifies. So light is exactly for celebrities when they go live on TV and when when you go live. So it bounces, it does not bounce back. So it's matte. You're not gonna be shy.
Year is a really popular. If you guys don't know, Abbey Road is a tribute band for the Beatles, so I do a lot of that as well. I'm like their unofficial official camera person, I guess. So I'm kind of like all over the board. I'll do events. Sometimes I broadcast to literally nobody. Sometimes I have like 7,500 people in the room. That's going back to my Periscope days. So a little bit of everything for you. A lot of it's aviation though. So that's great. So tomorrow I'm getting a teleprompter, so that's going to help a lot. So I'm going to use that for the traditional ways of using a teleprompter. For those of you who don't know what those are, is you can feed a script or almost anything you want in there, and then you can also use it as a monitor too. Because right now I'm just using my camera on my laptop, but when I'm using my pretty good webcam, I'm sitting there going to be looking down and then looking up at the camera, and I hate doing that to you guys because it almost looks like if I'm the host, I'm not paying attention to my viewers. So I got to figure out how to feed. I want to try to figure out how to feed my comments and then see you guys at the same time through the monitor. I know there's ways I could do that. Right. And then look directly into you, and then I could feed other things. And the one that I buy, you can run like different apps at the same time, and you have like, you guys see like the controllers, like what a weatherman uses or whatever. It kind of works the same as those. It's a controller where I can do all kinds of fancy things on there, and theoretically you're not supposed to know that we're using it or whatever. But that's why, like when I did the May 4th event last year, I forgot something totally extremely important, and I was shocked that nobody, after I scoped down, nobody even noticed. I was really shocked about that. I'm like, I missed. They have like these rocks or whatever, and they have like actual quotes on each rock, and I think there's like 7 of them, and I missed the 7th one, and I'm like, oh shoot, what the heck did I just do? And nobody mentioned it. I don't know if they even knew, let alone noticed. But with the teleprompter, I can use that, and then hopefully this year I can hire somebody, like because I live next to Kent State University, so I'll probably hire a kid that is studying that or whatever. Nice. And I know how to run Steadicam too, so I'll have them wear the Steadicam, be my Steadicam operator instead of just me being the one-man band show. That's very cool. Yeah, and that way I can see into my teleprompter and not forget nothing. I love that. One thing we've talked about is, potentially putting in something, a teleprompter into the studio, like right under the program cloud, or, we're still working on that would be really cool. Yeah, we have, more tools, more simple, responsive design, ability to move things around where you want them, et cetera, within the studio. Definitely on our list here. But yeah, John, by the way, you can see comments from Periscope. You should be getting them. But if you're invited, I'm invited. Yes. Sorry, can you just tell me your question?
No, I'm just trying to figure this out. There's 8 people here on screen, and we're all streaming in the house and also streaming on Twitter or Periscope,
Twitch.
Right. So yeah. So what happens to the comment section? Like, who gets to see what?
We see everything.
Yeah.
So you only see everything here on HAPS, right, coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So most of our activity and our viewers, it looks like, are on HAPS. We see some coming in from Twitter. It's changed throughout the evening. We've seen people from Twitch, from pretty much every platform here. But yeah,
it should Periscope as well, but looks like mainly active with HAPS viewers at the moment. If you're watching from another platform, comment here. Let us know where you're watching from.
But is it only from the moderators' accounts or all the guests that's being invited?
So all the guests that are invited who've connected their external accounts to the thing,
Who is doing
can
that?
also go to theirs if they set it up.
Okay, what is that?
Blowing their nose.
What is that?
I don't know what that was.
What the heck was that?
There's Mike from Germany. He's on Periscope. I can see.
Oh, a little bit.
That's so funny. Hey, Mike.
It was
good to see you.
Sneeze, right?
That is weird because it is not live on my stream right now on my Periscope, so it's not.
So because we came back, we uninvited. Yeah, Bobby, that's because we had to uninvite everyone because we maxed out. We had, remember, like 20 people sending.
Yeah, I know.
To probably 5 locations each, or 2 or 3, and so we uninvited, and that cut off that stream that you had going. So
and you have uninvited me because I never saw my name down there with "We are live with people," but you are breaking Periscope pretty much. Watch, this is Periscope right now, right? Okay, so all you see is you guys watch. Okay. On Periscope, only us. This is Periscope right now.
Somebody on Twitter scratching their heads wondering what on earth's going on tonight.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Only 11 broadcasts are on Periscope, and it's of us. The same thing. We took over Periscope, so until Periscope dies, it's only gonna be Hubs. It's an extension of Hubs.
So
I don't think the people who knows about this.
That was not by design, but that's hilarious.
We took over Periscope as well as Hubs, so it's Periscope Hubs marathon.
This guy, this scope has been there for like at least 6 months.
Yeah, no, forever.
Holy cow.
It's so annoying.
I
know, like
with the gators.
Yeah.
Crocodile scope.
The scope has been here.
A year almost.
It has to be more than a year, and so annoying to a point that.
A couple weeks ago, did you guys see? It wasn't like a legit update, but it came like through like a traditional update was, and it was like I took a screenshot of it, and it was like a thank you kind of thing from Periscope. At least it was on the Android side. I don't know if you guys got that on iOS or not, but it was a nice.
Yeah. Totally. Speaking of, we have our chief mobile engineer.
You should bring Brett up here.
Yeah. Brett, do you want to join us? I know it's really late.
I'm gonna jump off so I can release a space for Brett.
Yeah, I can jump off. And
no, it's okay.
You stay on, man, because you just came. Oh, you have been
on, John.
I just want to help out with my wife with the kids.
Yeah, that's what I said.
A little bit overwhelmed. I'm not sure if you can see it, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me bring the baby and show her face. I'll be back.
Oh, baby.
We've seen everything on
when
this
I see babies, then I like, oh, I want one. And then as soon as I think of the hospital pushing one, no, thank you. I don't want one. No, keep your baby. I don't want a baby. Thank God my baby is 14 now.
I was going to say,
get a dog, Bobby. Feel better.
Oh, no.
Get a dog, Bobby.
Get a dog.
Oh, it's so cute.
Oh my goodness, adorable.
Even baby made an appearance in the marathon. I mean, how amazing is that?
This is wild. Yeah. really seen it all.
Yeah.
So I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you bet.
Is anybody's signal like going from poor to good to great? It keeps like fluctuating up and down.
Mine too. Yes.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, you get the box. You just wait.
Wait. What's here? What's here? Keep it tight. Good boy. Good boy. Come on. You can do it. Come on.
That's Walt's, right?
Come on. Come on.
I think that's Walt.
Come on, you can do it. Good boy. Yeah, good boy.
What's
up, everybody?
Oh, we got too many people on screen.
Looking at my, that's one thing I didn't mention earlier. We're going to have a TV back here in a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, we got too many people on screen. There's Walt back on. Oh, thanks, Bobby. Bobby freed up the space. That's very nice. Very cool. Walt showing us the view again. Awesome. Wow. Very cool.
So that's a 9-stone driving front, and this is where we're heading to, guys. You can't really see, it's actually in the clouds at the moment. You can just about make out the mass right in front of us. That's the top of Mount Leinster.
Wow.
And this is the roadway up there. This is basically the service road, but it took a lot of stick during the bad weather which we recently had. You can see this was very, very good a few months ago.
Whoa.
But due to the snow and everything like that,
wow.
The road is starting to give way in places.
I want to drive on that.
You can see the big craters now. Exactly now. This is only used for the servicing of the RTE mass light at the top there. It's only basic service people which actually use it. It's not open to the public. There's a big gate at the bottom, and that's permanently locked. So basically, if you want to get to the top of here, you have to walk it. But I would usually come over from the back here, but due to the amount of weather, the rain and everything which has been with us previously, it is so boggy. I was cutting the field broadcasting last night, and wow, we got muddied up just in that short time across there. So I thought, no way up the mountains today, as in like that. But we are heading across to this side later, and what we actually do, we walk to the top of the 9 stones there, as far as you can actually see, all the way down. Then we come back round the side as well. It's a beautiful walk. That alone is about 3 hours walk.
Wow.
Some kind of flu where you tested for COVID.
Oh, you must do. I took, even from Periscope, like, I've had a few followers come over and visit me from Periscope, and I met them in Dublin. I took them out for the day, showed them some beautiful places around. So I've got a couple of more people.
Why does she get invited in?
As well. Once we get out of the lockdown, then maybe we'll get more visitors. But yeah, I've got no problem at all. I'll pick you up. I'll show you around. Some of the places you can't actually get to see with the likes of the tour buses and everything like that. But yeah, some beautiful places to actually visit. You probably need to put me on mute because I'll probably start heavy breathing shortly, and it might sound a bit wrong on your broadcast.
Fair enough. You'll have to put yourself on. Yeah.
If somebody's not watching, somebody's not picking up the video, and all they hear is me heavy breathing, they might get a bit concerned, guys.
Nice shades, Bobby. So cute. Nice. Bobby's rocking that Habs math. Oh, I like it.
Love it, Bobby.
That's great.
And that's what you follow, this link down here. Yeah. Hubs.tv/invite/
Don't you have to do 100 push-ups? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I won't put it in front. I'm not sure if you guys could hear me, but thank you so much for inviting us on doing this Habs marathon. And I have somebody here. I think he is shy. Eamon, I brought him into the platform, and he's shy. So go ahead. I want to say some words. I know you wanted to say some words. So
welcome.
Go ahead and
No, thank you. Not quite shy, but I didn't want to cut anybody off. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate that the time that you guys took to invite me, and appreciate the opportunity. And I'm so glad that I met all of you guys. I literally was here since the beginning. Me and Yassine were watching and talking about meeting you all.
Hello.
And I will thank Yassine for having me here, and he put me on this app, and I really liked it. Yesterday was my first ever podcast that I ever made in any social media, and of course I started on Helps. I would like to thank Peter and Pablo as well.
Be accepting an
for the
Academy
support
Award
and
now.
love they showed, and also thank you guys for having me here.
Hey, our pleasure. Yeah, really great to see you up here on screen. Yeah, welcome. Hope to see you here again soon.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And we do have some folks lining up to make some cameos as well. Mark, you've been very patient. I appreciate that. Everyone does. I'm so sorry. We've been all over the place here. This is just a wild and wacky ride. Not a normal show format, but Mark, introduce yourself to the community.
Hi there, hi everyone. Thanks for this choice chance to join in. Mark from Dorset on the south coast of England. I was hoping to try and share a moon set picture that I took just before I joined, but unfortunately I can't share it at the moment. So that'll most probably appear on my IG feed. But one picture I can show you is, let me just get this off the wall at the back.
Oh.
Suspense is killing me.
No, Bobby should recognize this.
Oh, you should put the his screen. Just leave Mark on so everybody can see that, because that is a beautiful photo that Mark has taken. Yeah, you don't have to bring it too close, so he's a bit further now. Further.
I hope you can still hear me. There we go.
There you go. Looks great.
Amazing.
Beautiful. So that is a
that was my
photo
Christmas
that Mark
present that Bobby painted for me this year. That was one of my pictures that was on my Instagram feed, and Bobby fell in love with it, and so that was a good little Christmas present to have this year.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I love that.
Totally.
Yeah, it's funny.
But, yeah, I mean, while I'm on, I just want to say, thanks to all of the HAPS team. But I know I've been sending emails badgering them about why isn't the tablet version updated yet. Yeah, certainly has reinvigorated the live streaming process. I kind of went a bit quiet on
Tim's
Periscope. I
live.
just got a little bit disheartened with it, but HAPS has certainly put that to rights, and hopefully I'll start broadcasting again soon, especially when our lockdown finishes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're really happy to have you here. Yeah, thank you for that. Tim David here as well. Tim,
good morning, everyone.
Hi, Tim.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Hey,
good
Tim,
to see everyone.
America and Canada or anywhere like that, but yeah, when you're walking, I try and keep warm, just by keep constantly going.
That's a gorgeous shot.
Go later there, and that's when you start to feel the cold.
Wow.
Very cool.
It looks a lot closer than what it actually is. Like it's still about another half an hour's walk there.
That's phenomenal.
I lost my little man. Oh, there he is. He's just enjoying life at the minute.
Having a time with his life.
No doubt.
Oh my,
so beautiful. Puppy.
Teddy, Ted, come say good morning to everybody. Oh, he says, I'm too busy, guys. This is too much to explore and smell.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So Pete, I would love, I know you're also being very patient here. We haven't really given you a chance to introduce yourself. I think we're really excited to get some more of your reports. In particular, you've had a number that are full of all sorts of brilliant lights and beach scenes and everything in between. But tell us a little bit about what you do and what folks can expect when they subscribe to you here on Apps.
Thanks for having me. Again, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. And a little bit about me. I first started on Periscope in May of 2015. And I downloaded the app basically just to watch the Rolling Stones.